All right, so today I'd like to talk about discrimination in this country and specifically how scary it is seeing Donald Trump making all these statements and he really gets away with it and he gets even more famous. Honestly, I think Donald Trump is simply the bad side of this country. I mean, think about it. Regardless of what group you're coming from, if you're African American, if you're a woman, if you're Mexican, if you're Muslim, and the list goes on and on. How do you feel about the other groups? Before you even start talking about getting your rights and talking about standing up for your rights, how do you feel about others? For my African American brothers, how do you see women? For my Muslim brothers, how do you see Mexicans? Mexicans, how do you see African Americans? And the list goes on and on. If you feel that it's okay for anybody to discriminate against another group as long as it's not your group, then guess what? You're being part of it. So before you change anything in the system, change yourself. And as much as you feel that you have the right to live in this country and to have all your human rights and civil rights in this country, so does each and every other group. That's the first thing. So change the way you think about others, change the way that you see others. Secondly, when you stand up and you go out and you try to protest asking for your right, that is not justice if you do not do the same thing for other groups. It's really sad for me when I see African Americans being out there, but I don't see Muslims, I don't see Mexicans, I don't see a lot of other groups, Asian Americans standing with them. And the same thing when it comes to immigration, when I see the South Americans standing out there, the illegal immigrants standing out there, but I don't see our citizens standing out there. And I'm talking about as a huge group. I'm not talking about one or two. Yes, there are some people that do that, but let's be realistic. If the minority groups do not stand together, there's nothing that will change in this country. Realistically, how many years, how many decades have people been fighting and people dying for their rights? But the one thing that we know, as long as we're not standing united, then that's not going to change. Alrighty. So the third thing that I have to talk about, when you're standing up for your right, do not hate the others. For instance, I am pro women empowerment, but I'm not a feminist. I will never be a feminist because these groups, unfortunately, they simply hate men. They just see that we are in a war. We're not. We're trying to get your rights. We're trying to empower you, but it doesn't mean that you have to go to the other extreme. So please, as you're standing up for your rights, as you're standing up for the right of others, do not allow hate to be part of that feeling. Alrighty? And when we do that, only when we do that, then we can talk about justice.